Today we're talking about doing a passage of lines, and a passage of lines is done anytime you need to pass friendly troops forward through the forward line of troops, right? So we can do it forward, and that's called a forward passage of lines, an F pole, or we can do a rearward passage of lines called an R pole. They go forward, they go rearwards, right? And a lot of times the way this works is like scouts will locate and identify the enemy, and then we'll be passing fresh troops on to go fight them. Or maybe we've just got a really good fixed hard point defensive setup, and we want to make sure we anchor this point with the guys that set it up, and these guys are going forward. So the first thing that happens is that we have to establish a contact point, and the contact point is where the leader of both units meet up with each other, also called a link-up point. So these guys come up, they establish ahead of time how to identify near and far recognition so that they don't shoot each other accidentally in the dark, but they go and they meet up and they exchange key information. Now, this could be a very long list depending on unit, the type of combat environment, anything like that. But fundamentally, you're telling them where your guys are, where the enemy is, contingencies along the way, fire and support plan, things like that, critical information so that everybody knows what's going on. And once all that information has been exchanged, the new unit is escorted through the passage lane, and then at a certain point they hit the release point, at which point the sitting unit here passes off responsibility, and these guys then take on the full responsibility of the forward line of troops. It's very important that everybody here understands what's going on so that nobody sees troops ahead of them and starts open firing them, not realizing that it's their own guys. So a lot of coordination needs to happen, which is why we do a deliberate passage of lines to prevent fratricide. Now, let's say the enemy goes forward and they encounter a much larger force than they expected, or the defensive fight goes poorly or whatever, and they need to now withdraw. Now we do what's called a rearward passage of lines, where it's kind of a retrograde operation, where they have that dedicated contact point. We just flip it. So the contact point is up here, unit leaders link up. Now it's the moving troop that is giving a lot of the information about the enemy and where the troops are and everything. So all of that is coordinated, and then they are once again escorted through, at which point they hit the release point, and responsibility is passed back over to the established defensive position, and these guys can go rest, recuperate, maneuver, whatever needs to happen. But if we are changing where the forward line of troops is, now we need to make sure we're doing a passage of lines, and these guys are then going to be throwing themselves on a fixed defensive position.